was my crown, my regal power. If not to feel your presence near me every moment, every second. True, I am a queen. Ah, but I am still a woman. Take me, Robert. I ache for thy comfort. I cry for thy consolation. I cherish thy every touch. Don't leave me, Robert. Take back the steel with which I knighted thee. The sword that has... The sword that has... The sword that has...
Severed our lives, cut us in two. Stay, I beseech thee. Request of me anything. It will be granted. My life is at thy feet.
Michael Arbuckle, what are you doing here?
Studying to be an actor.
Give me that.
Take me, Robert. I ache for thy comfort.
You think you're smart, don't you, Michael?
I should be, watching you every day.
Does Grandfather know you've been neglecting your work?
Does Grandfather know where you've been every afternoon?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, yes, you do. You've been hanging around that theater barn. You got a case
Michael Arbuckle, you're always snooping. If I ever told Grandfather all the things I know about you, we'd have a new hired boy.
What thing?
How did he lose his pipe?
I don't know.
What made the barn catch on fire?
You wouldn't.
A lady never tattles and expects that much from a gentleman.
Oh, you can trust me, Jenny.
Michael. Michael!
Yes, sir, coming. Yes, sir?
I thought I told you to get at those weeds.
I couldn't find the scythe.
Scythe gone? What sort of witchcraft is going on here? Things are always disappearing. That old sword of mine that hung over the fireplace. Have you found my pipe yet?
No, sir. Someone must have stolen it.
Well, I'd like to get my hands on that someone. Get at those weeds.
Yes, sir.
Had a good day's sleep, Lillian?
I did, Archie.
That's nice. Do you realize you held up rehearsal for 3 hours?
Yes, Archie?
Have you anything to say for yourself?
No, Archie.
Now listen, Lillian, I'm not going to stand for this. Do you think I'm crazy?
Definitely, Archie.
Take your places, please, everybody. Harrison, Blythe. Just a minute, Archie. It's time. A quarter she's there. A quarter she isn't.
That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and today's quarter. It's $1.25 you owe me.
I'm good for it.
Not too good.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You like it, really?
I think it's just simply marvelous. I'm Jenny Yates.
Are you?
I've been watching you painting that landscape ever since you started it. Been coming here afternoons all this week.
Yeah, I noticed you.
Did you really? You know, Mr. Green, if you haven't a name for that study, I should like to suggest one. Autumn Prayer.
Not bad.
Sounds like the title of a Corot, doesn't it?
Smart girl, aren't you?
My grandfather teaches me.
He's doing a nice job.
Do you like poetry? I just read the sweetest thing here in this book. It's one of the recitation lessons. Like a foundling in slumber, the summer's day lay on the crimsoning threshold of even. And I thought that the glow through the azure arched way was a glimpse of the coming of heaven. There together we sat by the beautiful stream. We had nothing to do.
Perhaps you have nothing else to do, Miss Yates, but I'm a working man myself, and what on earth is that book?
Oh, it's a very, very important book. It's all about etiquette and acting.
And so I see. Is this what your grandfather's been teaching you from?
Oh, no, sir. That's a prohibited book. If Grandfather knew I had it, he'd burn it. It was Mother's. I found it in an old trunk that belonged to her, and I've been studying it religiously ever since. My mother was an actress, a lady actress, and I hope to follow in her footsteps.
Well, that's very nice.
By a very peculiar coincidence, my mother was in the very show that you've been playing this week. She had a very important part in it. Do you know what they said about my mother? They said, at last, a lady playing a lady. Wasn't that a perfectly marvelous thing to say?
Yes.
My poor mother had a most hectic, tragic life. You see, Grandfather's always been very strict and never permitted Mother to leave the farm. Once my Aunt Agatha came down from Boston, persuaded Grandfather to let Mother go with her for a holiday. Mother fell in love with an actor.
Oh.
Herbert Yates. Grandfather was furious. He warned her, but they were married. Later, when Father died, Mother tried to come back to the farm, but Grandfather locked her out.
No.
She had to go back to Boston. When she died, Aunt Agatha brought me to Grandfather. That's why I live here now. I'm very lonely and I never go anyplace. But, of course, I always have the book. It tells just how ladies and gentlemen should prepare themselves to appear before the public. When I do go out into the world, I will know just how to conduct myself under any circumstances. How could anyone play a lady without being one? If you were assisting a lady out of a carriage and her foot slipped, what would you do?
What?
I knew you wouldn't know, but the book tells you. Should a lady's foot slip, the gentleman must place himself in juxtaposition whereby he may very quickly take the lady's arm, hold it firmly but gently until the lady regains her proper balance. And the gentleman should always, with the quintessence of politeness and utmost courtesy, add, I'm sorry.
That's very nice.
Besides teaching you how to act, this book is full of ever so many useful things. The forms of salutation, the etiquette of shaking hands, how to conduct the ball, conduct for gentlemen traveling with ladies, how to arrange a table, places for hosts and hostesses, places for relatives, places for guests, the horseback ride and the rules that govern it. It's probably the most useful book in the world.
It's very interesting. Have you seen any of the shows?
Well, no.
Would you like to come tonight?
Why, of course.
Well, I'll leave a ticket for you at the box office.
Thank you.
When I take this to New York next week, I want it letter perfect. If it doesn't get over, I'm sunk. Here I go and engage the Village Theater, ballyhoo it to the skies, the revival of an old masterpiece. And the way you've been playing it, why, any high school bunch could do better. Now, look, if you'll all help me, we can't miss. Harrison, this is an old melodrama, not a comedy, and you have to play it seriously. The more seriously you play it, the funnier it will be. But you can't clown it. She's a sweet, innocent kid in love with a boy, her school chum. And you want her at all costs. But remember, you've got to play it straight. Now, Lillian, you're this sweet, pure, innocent country girl. Can't you crowd that through your brain? Sweet, pure, innocent? You're madly in love with the boy. Your father's invention has been stolen by Harrison's father, a butter churner that he spent his entire life perfecting.
So what?
So you've been playing it as an actress playing the part. Nothing natural. Lillian, you lose the whole point of it.
Let me tell you something.
Oh, now, please, Bernhard, please.
Listen, Belasco.
I can't listen now, Lillian. We've got to get on with this rehearsal.
Well, you'd better listen, because there might not be a rehearsal after I finish with you. Do you know that for 6 weeks I haven't received a single penny of the salary you promised me?
Think nothing of it. When we get back to New York with this revival, we're going to make so much money that it'll make your head swim.
How interesting.
Oh, yeah, isn't it?
Well, it might be more interesting if you hadn't given me the same line when you persuaded me to come here, or I would get rich so quick it'd make my head swim. Have I become rich?
Maybe not, but your head swims. Now, before you begin acting for me, save it for tonight.
Gentlemen, don't whistle in the house.
You're always telling me what to do. Why don't you sweep off your own front porch? Jenny. Jenny.
Yes, Grandfather.
Beginning tomorrow morning, you're not to leave these grounds. You're not to go into the village. You understand?
Yes, sir.
That's all.
May I go out tonight?
Tonight? What do you mean?
I made a promise.
Promise? What about?
Oh, I don't think you'd understand, Grandfather.
Promise? Understand? My dear child, what is all this dribble-drabble?
Well, there have been some show people at the Hale Barn for 6 weeks. Everybody's been going. I never asked to go before, but... Oh, tonight I've just got to.
I'm going to bed. I shall expect you to do likewise within an hour.
Grandfather, I'll never ask you for another thing as long as I live if you'll just let me go this one time. I'll think you the finest grandfather in the world.
Jenny, I'm trying to be compassionate by not punishing you for mooning around after these theater people. But I warn you, if you leave the house after I'm asleep, the door will be closed to you. Forever.
The dishes are all put away. Can I help you with anything else?
Michael Arbuckle, the meanest person in the world, is a tattletale.
Well, I didn't.
Now I am going to tell Grandfather a few things about you.
You can't scare me, Jenny.
I'm going to tell him how you set the barn on fire.
Jenny, please. Honestly, I didn't tell him anything. Last time I got fired, Ma whipped me. This time I know she'll break my neck.
There is vengeance and retribution in the world.
Jenny, please don't tell him.
What do you want? I said, what do you want? What are you up to?
Oh, nothing.
You can't tell me you're walking in your sleep.
No, sir.
Then you must be snooping.
Oh, no, sir. Honest, I wasn't. I just wanted a glass of water.
Wait. What was the argument between you and Jenny?
When, sir?
When? Just after I had retired.
I don't remember.
I heard Jenny say something about retribution in the world. What did she mean? Oh, all right, all right. I'll ask Jenny in the morning.
Is there a ticket here for Jenny Yates?
Yes, there is.
Have I missed much?
No, not much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Listen, Bugsy, this time we've got it on you. Come clean, I'll make it easy.
You haven't got anything on me, DA.
All right. Remember, I gave you a chance.
You can't bluff me.
Now be a good boy and tell me all about it. What about Jackson? Remember we found him trussed up and full of bullet holes and back to the bottling works? What about that county cop you crocheted with a machine gun over at Knox Junction?
You're just wasting time.
You think so? Make yourself comfortable while I call a friend of mine.
Why, you can't scare me.
Who's trying to scare you, Bugsy? I just want the coroner to give me a few tips on embalming.
Play Virtue's report tonight. Something
Mark Copper.
The manager
You'll change your tune in a minute.
Virtue's report tonight. Somebody's
Hello,
sick
give me
or
the
something.
coroner's office. Hello, Spencer. Baker talking. How soon can you get over here? Okay. Now, just relax, Muggsy, until the coroner gets here.
Thanks.
George, you can go.
So long, Archie. I'll see you in New York.
So long, Phil. It's been swell of you to help us out. You know, I'm planning to follow Virtue's reward with something, and then I really can put you on salary.
No, Archie. I'm going back to my painting.
Well, here, this might buy a few beans along the way, and I'll give the rest to you when we get back to town.
No, thanks. You're going to need it. I've got enough gas in the buggy to get me back there, and once I'm there, I'm all right. Besides, struggling painter shouldn't eat anyway.
You're a funny guy, Phil. If you just let your dad know where you keep yourself, you'd be flush all the time.
Nothing doing. Dad's all right, but he's all business. I'm sure he won't talk to me after that last scrap. I wish I really were rich. I'd like to stay in this country and just paint. See you at Tippy's.
Oh, going back there?
She's a nice old soul, and she sometimes overlooks the first of the month.
Good luck, boy.
evening, sir.
What are you doing here?
Well, I went to see the show tonight, and when I went home, I couldn't get in. I was locked out. You remember what my grandfather did to my mother? Well, the very same thing has happened to me. He told me if I went to see the play, he would lock the door. He locked it. And now I can't ever go back, and I didn't get to see the play I wanted to after all. Then I came down to see you, and you were busy talking. So I asked someone, and they showed me your car.
And so you just decided to get in and come along?
Yes, and you never would have known it if you hadn't hit those bumps. Why, you've no idea how it hurt when you went over them. Bumps are all very well if you're sitting in the front seat, but I don't think that even you yourself would like them if you were sitting with one knee in each eye. How far have we gone, Mr. Green?
We've gone exactly 37.5 miles. We've used 2 gallons and 1 gill of gasoline. We've used 1 pint of oil. And we've...
I just knew you were the kind of a man who would know absolutely all about his automobile. It's probably a sign of genius. You know, Leonardo da Vinci was not only a great painter, he was also a great engineer and probably a great mathematician. You're an actor and a painter and...
And the kind of a man who'd just as soon find a tiger in the back of his car.
Would you really? Well, wouldn't that be exciting to find a tiger in the back of your car? Don't you think we better be getting on?
Getting on? We'd better be getting back to Ashford where your grandfather can give you a proper spanking. I ought to do it myself. We'll turn back right now.
Oh, please, Mr. Green, I simply can't go back. I can't. Where could I go? What could I do? Oh, I've always wanted to go to New York and work in the theater. Oh, you haven't the heart to take me back.
I've got the heart, all right, but I haven't got the gas. If I take you back, it'll be another 70 miles and I'll get stuck.
Then you'll just have to take me, won't you?
No, I won't have to. I won't have to do anything. I can set you on a fence and let you wait until somebody comes for you. All right. As long as you're coming with me, you may as well ride up in the front. But know this, you can't stay. I'll send you back on the train tomorrow. If you're a landlady with a heart, you'd give it to me. Am I asking you for $1 million, Tippy? No, $10 to send the kid back to Ashford where she belongs. You may as well sit down. Rest yourself. The train ride may be a bit strenuous.
But I don't want to go back.
Don't be too harsh on the child. After all, you did bring her here.
I've tried to tell you, my dear Tippy, I did not bring her here. I found her in the rumble seat of my car.
Now look what you've done.
Oh, he's done nothing. It isn't Mr. Green's fault. It's all my fault. I'm just an impulsive do-or-die creature. May I borrow a handkerchief? Oh, I know it isn't proper to ask anyone for a handkerchief, let alone a stranger, but I'm almost submerged under these tears.
Certainly. Philip, you listen to me. If she's willing to try to do something here, we ought to help her.
Oh, I'm more than willing. I'm anxious. I feel I must find something in the theater. It's part of me.
I couldn't do anything for her. Where could I send her? What could I... Of course, there's just one chance. I don't know. I doubt if he could do anything for her. He's practically cast.
If you're thinking of Fisher, you could try.
No, it wouldn't do any good.
But Miss Tipton says we could try. Oh, Mr. Green, it would be wonderful to be able to stay here in New York. Just wonderful. I can't quite adjust myself to thinking about going back. Please.
Yes, please.
No, now let's forget it.
Oh, but there'd be no harm in my seeing him. Oh, you don't have to take me there. You could send me to him with a note. You know, a letter of introduction. There are ever so many fine examples of letters of introduction in Smith's Compendium. Please, Mr. Green.
All right. I'll send you to him.
Oh, I just knew you were a wonderful friend, the best I ever had. I could tell it the first time I saw you.
Mr. Fisher's out. I'm his assistant. Phil's a good friend of ours, but I'm afraid there isn't anything.
Oh, but I must see Mr. Fisher. I don't mind waiting.
Won't do any good. I know there's nothing.
I'm sorry, sir. I will wait for Mr. Fisher. You see, I came all the way from Ashford.
Ashford? Well, that's where we just played summer stock.
Yes, I do think I remember seeing you there.
See any of the shows?
Yes, I did, a part of one, and I didn't like it a bit. Oh, please. I dislike speaking derisively of anyone's efforts, but I went to see the last performance and I was horrified. You, too, would have had the same feeling. Why, imagine going to see a lovely play and instead being subjected to something about killings and things. It was revolting.
You were an actress?
In a way. That is to say, I haven't as yet made my first appearance before the public, but I have made every effort to acquit myself. I think I come by it naturally. You see, my mother was an actress.
Oh, really?
Why, what a strange coincidence. That's the very show my mother had an important part in, Virtue's Reward. I found out all about my mother from a clipping in a Boston newspaper. Do you know what they said about my mother? They said, at last, a lady playing a lady. If only they'd say that about me. May I see it?
Certainly.
Isn't this interesting? Mr. Simpson, you are a counselor. I ask advice. My name is Herbert Murgatroyd. I live in Waxbury. Have been blessed by a union with a good woman. And this is my daughter, Alice.
Go on.
May I? Alice, say hello to Mr. Simpson. How do you do, Mr. Simpson? It's a pleasure to know you. I have heard Father speak so often about you that I feel as if I'd known you for a long, long time. Perhaps I can explain the reason for our visit. For 10 years, my father has labored diligently on a patent, a butter churner. And only yesterday, we discovered that Mr. William Flaxby of Waxbury had deliberately stolen... Wait, daughter. No, Father. Fear not. The truth is the truth, as the book says. Yea, ye shall tell the truth, and it shall set ye free. Mr. Simpson, Father is too kind, too believing. He has slaved. He has worked his fingers to the bone on the patent. And I cannot see his life's labor lost.
That's the way of the world. Some have everything, others nothing. No matter who it is, Tipton ends up digging up. $10 is $10. Doesn't grow on trees. Sending her to Fisher. Whatever possessed me to encourage it. Well, whosever fault it is, it's done. They're probably tearing her heart to shreds by now, poor girl.
Miss Tipton! Miss Tipton! I'm not going back. I don't have to go back. I've got a job. I'm acting. Isn't it too wonderful? I'm an actress. At last I found something into which I could put my whole soul. After I tried out, Mr. Fisher asked me if I'd accept an engagement. I told him that I would, but that I would only appear in genteel parts. He agreed. Oh, he's a wonderful man. He kept his word and gave me a most genteel part. When I read a portion of it to him, he told me that I put more into the part than any other actress who'd ever played it. Isn't that lovely? By a strange coincidence, it's the same show that my mother played in, Virtue's Reward. But I must go now. I only secured a few minutes to come here. I wanted you and Mr. Green to be the first to know of my good fortune. Where's Mr. Green? Oh, I'm sorry he isn't in. He's the best friend I ever had. It never would have happened without his note. But I can't wait. Rehearsal start immediately. Do you mean to say that you're canning me?
Plainly speaking, and between friends, I am canning you. I have a real, genuine made-to-order for the part actress. And now, Madame Duzet, if you please. Scram. Well, gang, I just fired Temple. Good. Oh, but that's not the news. I've got a person to take her place who isn't an ordinary actress by any means. In fact, she's not an actress at all. A natural. Brought herself up on her mother's How to Act book of 1870. Her mother played in Virtue's Reward 20 years ago. And that's why she'll be a perfect Alice Murgatroyd. Now, if we do this right and keep her thinking she's playing in a straight, serious show, it's going to get over so big, we're all going to make so much money, it'll make your head swim. Now, Miss Yates, as the play goes on within a week, there's no time to be lost. You'll have to work at least 20 hours a day, and so will the rest of us, but I'm sure it'll be worth it. This is Mr. Harrison.
How do you do?
Miss Yates, Miss Jennings.
How do you do?
Mr. Preston.
Hello.
Miss Armstrong.
Hello. Hello.
Mr. Wagner. Mr. Blythe.
Hello.
Hello. Mr. Lucas.
How do you do?
And Miss Yates, this is the group that's going to put on the show with your assistance. Now, since Miss Yates is the only one who isn't familiar with this, we'll start with her first scene. It's almost at the end of the act, the spot where Harrison comes in. All right, will you find the place, please, Blythe? I think the rest of you can take 5 minutes. Now, Miss Yates, this is only a reading, but put all you can into it. All right, Harrison.
Well, if it isn't Alice Murgatroyd.
In heaven's name, Simon Flexby.
No, pardon me, Miss Yates, just a moment. Will you try it this way? Put the accent on name. In heaven's name, Simon Flexby. You see, you know Simon, so that isn't important. It's your fight we want to catch. In heaven's name, Simon Flexby.
Yes, sir.
Now, dear, don't be nervous. It'll be all right.
Oh, please, could I try it by myself a few times?
Why, yes, of course. That's a good idea. Why don't you just run over all of your lines in this act? It'll help you.
Oh, thank you. If it isn't Alice Murgatroyd, in heaven's name, Simon Flexby. If it isn't Alice Murgatroyd, in heaven's name, Simon Flexby.
Isn't that the girl from Ashford?
No less.
Which reminds me, how about my $1.25?
I'm good for it.
He makes up his mind. In the name of all that is pure, please go away.
Why didn't Archie give me a chance at that part? I think he wants an actress to play it.
Please leave. Please leave. Please leave.
We can't change all of those lines. What would the author think?
He can't think. He's dead.
Oh, a funny man.
Alice Murgatroyd. In heaven's name, makes up his mind. Please leave. It isn't Alice Murgatroyd. In heaven's name, Simon Flexby.
Think we can try it now?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go.
Well, if it isn't Alice Murgatroyd.
In heaven's name, Simon Flexby. If Father knew you were here, he would shoot you down like a dog.
I've come a long way, Alice, and I don't aim to be defeated. When Simon Flexby makes up his mind, he makes up his mind.
In the name of all that is pure, please go away.
For the past 100 years, the Flexbys have been powerful people. My grandfather was a monument of industry. My father boasted the finest livery stables in these parts. And I am the best feed and grain salesman in the state. Yes, in all the states.
Simon Flexby, you know I love another. Please leave. Can't you realize what you're doing to my young heart?
Who laughed? Who is it?
Why, Slim just told me the funny story.
Listen, you're fired. Anyone who doesn't know better than to laugh during one of America's finest portrayals on...
Mr. Fisher, I'm sure the gentleman meant no harm. Won't you please give him another chance? I'd feel so dreadful if anyone lost a position on my account.
All right. I'll let it pass this time, but if you laugh again, you're through. Understand me?
Yes, sir.
All right, Miss Yates, let's try this again, shall we?
Well, may I please have a few minutes to compose myself?
Yes, certainly. 5 minutes rest, everybody.
Phil.
Didn't you understand my note?
Well, Shirley.
Well, it doesn't look like it.
Says she's a clever kid.
Come on now, Archie. You're making a goat out of the girl.
Yes, but Phil, she's perfect for the part.
Listen, Archie. I know what's in the head of that little chatterbox. I only wanted to let her off easily. I sent her to you because I couldn't talk her out of it. I thought you could convince her.
I'm giving her a chance.
That's not a chance. You've put her in that show, making her believe that they're all playing it seriously.
Yes, but what difference does it make?
Oh, then you admit it.
I admit I'm putting on a great show, and that's all I'm interested in.
But it's not right. She doesn't understand that the audience is supposed to laugh at the show and at her.
What's wrong with that?
I've told you what's wrong with it. When she finds out, it'll break her heart.
Oh, come on now, Phil. Grow up. Why, she'll be a sensation in spite of herself. And when it's all over, she'll be so pleased she'll be grateful.
Well, I can't see it that way.
Oh, forget it.
I'll forget it after I tell her.
She's so sold on the idea that it would be impossible for anybody to change her mind.
Well, I'm going to tell her.
Oh, why all this sudden interest? You wanted to get rid of her? You got rid of her, so why worry?
I wanted her to go home to keep her from being disappointed. Experience like this is even worse. It'll destroy her belief in herself.
Say, you're not falling for the kid, are you?
Oh, Mr. Green. How nice of you. It was wonderful of you to come to my first rehearsal. If I live 1,000,000 years, I will always be grateful to you for getting me this wonderful opportunity. What you've done for me will live in my memory forever. I told Miss Tipton, and I'll repeat it again. You're the best and the very dearest friend I ever had.
Jenny,
Shall we try it once more, Miss Yates?
Thank you again for coming.
I don't know what to do.
I hope you're better with your paints than you are with your nerve.
It isn't nerve, Tippy. It's... Oh, what's the use? She stops me every time.
Perhaps you haven't the right approach.
The right approach? Why, I've tried a dozen approaches. I've tried to work up to it gradually to lighten the blow. But I can't get any farther than... Look here, Jenny. There's something that you should know. Her enthusiasm stops me every time. She's so wrapped up in her work. So grateful to me for all that I've done for her. Tippy, I'm worried to death about the outcome. If you knew as much about her background as I do. She's been living in a world that she's built up out of books written in 1870. Grandfather's in his dotage, hired boy's a little tattletale, and all the neighbors think that she's a bit goofy. When she realizes that this thing that she considers so genteel, this play that she takes so seriously, is a burlesque being put on merely to be laughed at, it's going to be a terrible shock. Tippy, I'm in a dilemma. I don't know which would hurt her more. To learn that I never intended her to get a job, or to find out that she's the goat and even the company are laughing at her.
Philip, if I didn't know you better, I think you might be falling for the child.
Oh, that's the same thing Fisher tried to accuse me of. Nonsense.
You don't think you're amused?
Stop it, Tippy.
That's the only reason would make me believe you can't tell her.
I've never known such a person in my life.
Oh, you're just a boy, Phil.
I'd like to see you in my spot.
Is that a challenge?
Well, you couldn't tell her any more than I could.
Do you realize that in my long lifetime, I've had occasions where I've had to get up and tell people what's what?
What I said still stands.
I've told more than one famous manager where to get off. I walked out of the Southern Belle a minute before the curtain was to rise. Young man, I resent your challenge. And just to prove to you that age and experience are good for something in this world, I'll talk to that girl, and I'll tell her, and tell her plenty. Just leave it to me.
Oh, Tippy, let me help. do you like my new dress? Mr. Fisher was kind enough to advance me a few dollars. I bought it at a little shop near the theater.
It's very nice, Jenny.
Oh, thank you, Tippy. You're always so encouraging. That's why I keep saying to myself, I'm going to make good, if only for her sake. And to warrant Mr. Green's confidence in me.
Jenny, I was an actress myself once.
Really?
Really. And naturally, I can give you a few pointers. Now, the entire idea, that is to say, the thought behind virtue's reward, may not be quite as serious as you think.
Oh, yes, I know,
The play was written to portray the contrast between city and country people. And there may be considerable mirth.
Oh, yes, there's the farmhand's part. That's comedy.
Jenny, Philip's been wanting to tell you something for a long time.
Why doesn't he?
Well, he's kind of shy, not the impulsive kind. He's the type of person who broods over a thing for a long time.
But he's the best friend I have in the world. I don't see why he doesn't walk right up and tell me.
When you know the world as well as I do, Jenny, you'll find various types of people. Now take Philip, for instance. He's had something on his mind to tell you ever since you went into the show. But he's an artist. You know, temperamental. He's very sensitive, especially where other people's feelings are concerned. He's very deep, Jenny. So deep that he can't come up on the surface. Well, he's the sort of fellow who waits for the proper time.
Oh, I understand. Philip is just like a character I once read about in a book. A boy who was struggling to make a name for himself. A writer by profession. He was the very, very good friend of a very lovely girl. He liked her to a great extent. Yet because of his high principles, he couldn't bring himself to tell her what was in his heart until he'd made something of himself. Now, the girl knew that the boy was going to be famous someday, but the world didn't know it. And the boy felt that until he could convince the world, he could make no declaration to the girl. Is that what you've been trying to tell me?
Well, something like that.
Well?
Yes.
Guess what?
Yes, well?
How did she feel about it?
Well, I think you took the whole thing too seriously.
Well, never mind that, Tippy. Did she feel badly? Did she cry?
I haven't seen this before. New, isn't it?
Yeah, something I did in Vermont. I asked you something, Tippy.
Gorgeous country, Vermont. I haven't been there since I was a child.
I only hope you didn't hurt her too much.
I especially remember the maple trees. I was traveling with my aunt. She was the most peculiar
Hang the maple trees. What did she say? What did she do?
Oh, yes. What did she say? What did she do?
Yes, what happened?
Well, Philip, you must remember, you sneaked up on me with that challenge. You practically forced me into it. I tried to make it easier for you. You probably blame me for...
Blame you? Blame you for what?
Do you blame me?
No, of course not.
Very well, then. I started to tell her, and before I knew it, she turned the whole thing her way. I can't help it, Philip. I told her you've been wanting to tell her something for a long time, but couldn't. She said she understood. Well, it seems you're like someone in a book she once read. It seems you liked a girl, and you were a very good friend of this girl. Well, it also seems you couldn't tell her until you were in a better position, until you'd made something of yourself, until you could offer...
What are you raving about?
She misunderstood me completely. She's the hardest thing in the world to talk to, even when you get the chance to talk.
Well, that's a fine how do you do. I asked you to explain to her what they're doing at the theater, and you end up by having the girl think that I'm in love with her. Isn't that it?
Well, something like that.
Well, that's a great help. It serves me right. I should have told her myself in the first place. But I'll tell her. I'll make it plain to her. I'll put on the fireworks. I'll shout it so loud that she won't have a chance to misunderstand. Jenny, I sent for you.
Yes?
Well, what I wanted to say is, the reason I sent for you is...
Yes?
Well, there's something you ought to know about.
Maybe I do know about it.
You couldn't.
You can't be too sure, Mr. Green, what a lady knows.
Well, I'm sure enough this time, and it seems quite evident that nobody else is going to tell you, so I suppose it's up to me. You ought to be told right away before...
No, you don't understand me at all. I can wait, and I think it's so noble of you. Let's talk of other things.
I can't talk of other things with this on my mind, Jenny. I must tell you, when I think of your working away there in that awful show...
It's not an awful show. I love it. Oh, Mr. Fisher is so kind, and everyone else is so kind and helpful, it doesn't seem like work at all. So don't you worry about that. You just go right on working at short painting, and you'll be famous before you know it. Then it will be time enough.
Jenny, I don't want to talk about myself. What I want to say concerns you and your happiness. Here you are, a stranger in a strange world, trusting everybody.
Why shouldn't I trust everybody? Think how grand everybody's been to me. Think how nice you were in sending me to Mr. Fisher. Think how nice Mr. Fisher has been to me. Why shouldn't I trust everybody?
Jenny, you're being deceived. I absolutely must tell you now. I was telling Miss Tipton...
Please don't. I understand and I'll wait. You see, the world is so perfect as it is. I must go. Rehearsals, you know.
But Jenny, really...
It'll be opening night before you know it. Wish me luck, Phil. Bye.
Goodbye.
Have you an appointment with Mr. Green?
No, but I must see him. It's very important.
I'm sorry.
Young lady, if I tell you that I've been in the city for 3 whole days trying to find a Philip Green, that I've talked with 50 Philip Greens, all the wrong ones, about a matter concerning the son of Philip Green.
I'm Mr. Green. Come in.
Thank you.
Sit down. Well?
My name is Lowell. I've come a long way to see you, and after I explain, perhaps you'll be able to help me. I'll try and be brief, Mr. Green. Your son, if you're the Mr. Green I'm looking for, was a member of a theatrical group up at Ashford.
I get you. I get you. How much?
How much? What are you talking about?
How much does my son owe you?
Oh, me? Why, nothing.
You mean my son doesn't owe you any money?
Of course not.
Maybe he reformed.
Mr. Green, after your son left Ashford, my granddaughter disappeared. Now, that's why I'm here. Understand, I'm making no accusations. Possibly the girl is to blame. I can't tell until I see them.
Where are they?
Don't you know where your boy is?
Well, not definitely. About 6 weeks ago, we had a little disagreement. We're always having disagreements. I haven't heard from him since.
I'm sorry, Mr. Green, but you must locate him.
Well, we might follow up a few clues. Perhaps ask at his last rooming house. I don't want you to misunderstand, Junior. He's a very fine boy. It's just that he doesn't want to come into my office until his spirit has a chance to live. Whatever that means.
When can we start looking for them?
Right away. But first, I must insist that we... Say when. You remind me of a chum I had in college. I went to Oberlin. A good school, too.
Yeah, he should have been. My father taught philosophy there.
Well, we have something in common. My father taught mathematics at Columbia.
Until you resigned to become a judge.
Which reminds me that I had an uncle that was a judge of the Superior Court. And my grandfather, if you'll pardon the boasting, was governor of Vermont.
Lowell, now here's something I never tell anybody, for fear they might misunderstand. But my grandfather, on my mother's side, won the Battle of New Orleans. I got a picture of him home. I'd like to show it to you sometime.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. My great... Now, I won't vouch for this, but I've been told that my great-great-aunt made the ink with which was written the Declaration of Independence.
Bravo. Bravo. An old aunt of mine wrote an article on her ancestry in which she stated that her grandfather, a blacksmith, put the shoes on the horse, the one on which Paul Revere rode the most famous ride in American history.
Peculiar coincidence.
What?
My grandfather owned that horse.
You know it's Saturday night.
I've had my bath, if that's what you mean. Don't tell me you're getting hard in your old age and demanding the rent.
Aren't you going down there tonight?
Where?
You know where. The show. You'll miss a lot of it if you don't start.
No.
Philip, you've got to go.
Forget it.
Someone must be there when the crash comes.
I said I'm not going, and I mean it. I don't know what good I could do.
Phil, you must be there, if only to pick up the pieces.
I'm turning in. I'm dead tired.
Philip, you're not 5 years old. You're old enough to realize you can't just sit back and let matters take their course. Now, Philip, you're going down there tonight.
No.
I say yes.
No.
I say yes.
And I say no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Hello, Miss Tipton. Is my son staying here again?
Yes, Mr. Green. Philip's here. Did you hear us? We were just having a little conversation. Won't you come in? Philip's resting in his study. Shall I call him down, or would you?
No, we'll go right up.
Very well.
No.
Yes. Just a little game we were playing.
Well, hello, Dad.
Hello, son. This is Mr. Lowell from Ashford.
How do you do, Mr. Lowell?
Good evening, sir.
Won't you sit down? Have a chair, Mr. Lowell?
Where is my granddaughter?
Jenny? She's at the Village Theater in a show.
Jenny, in a show? How did she...
Before you ask any more questions, I think you'd better go down there. She wouldn't listen to me, and she needs someone.
Where is this theater?
I'll take you there. Nice to have seen you, son. It's a little lonesome at home. I see no reason why you can't paint there. Think it over.
Thanks, Dad. I'll let you know.
Come on, Uriah.
One thing, Mr. Lowell. Jenny's not altogether to blame.
Perhaps I've been at fault.
Well, no, not entirely. I'm willing to take my share.
Why aren't you at the theater, Phil?
Well, I'd planned to go down later after the show.
He planned nothing of the kind. He was getting ready to go to the show just before you came in. Why people change their minds is beyond me. Don't argue with me, young man. I'm old enough to be your grandfather.
you cry for me. For come from Alabama with my banjo on my knee. Whoa, Susanny, oh, don't you cry for me. For come from Alabama with my banjo on my knee.
Why can't I go stand in the wings?
No, it's bad luck. Better wait till your cue. How do you feel?
May I tell you something?
Why, yes, of course.
I haven't been sleeping nights.
Oh, now, you mustn't worry. Well, you're going to be fine.
Oh, it isn't about myself I'm worrying. It's about Alice Murgatroyd. I feel so sorry for the poor girl. Here she is with such a lovely father and confronted by all those obstacles. I've lived with her problems, and I've all the sympathy in the world for her.
True, Jenny, that's true. And the world will feel the same way that you do about her.
I know it.
You know, Phil, once I stole away and ran up to Boston and saw my daughter, Jenny's mother, play a part in that very same show.
Is that so?
And she was mighty good, too.
Shall we go backstage?
Well, if it isn't Alice Murgatroyd.
In heaven's name, Simon Flexby, if Father knew you were here, he would shoot you down like a dog.
I have come a long way, Alice, and I don't aim to be defeated. When Simon Flexby makes up his mind, he makes up his mind.
In the name of all that is pure, please go away.
For the past 100 years, the Flexbys have been powerful people. My grandfather was a monument of industry. My father boasted the finest livery stables in these parts. While I am the best feed and grain salesman in this state. Yes, in all the states.
Simon Flexby, you know I'll love another.
Simon Flexby. Simon Flexby. You know, I know you love another. I know we love another. Simon Flexby, you know I love another. Please leave. Can't you realize what you're doing to my young heart?
I told you she's a natural. It's a hit.
Well, baby, you made it.
We eat.
Swell, honey.
Excuse me. Jenny, I tried to tell you, but you wouldn't give me the...
Go away from me. I hate you.
Jenny, dear, you must listen to me. Try to forget this.
Please don't talk to me.
Don't you understand now?
Jenny, it's a hit. You were wonderful.
I'm a fool. I'm going back home. Through with acting forever.
Oh, come on, Jenny. Change and get ready for the next act. The curtain goes up in 3 minutes.
3 centuries would be too soon for me, and there's no use saying another word about it. I'm going back to Ashford.
Oh, but Jenny, you can't let me down now. Phil, will you tell her?
No, Archie, not me. I warned you. You got yourself into this mess. Now get yourself out. You can't make her do it.
Oh, so I'm stuck?
Yes.
What'll I do?
Get out.
Somebody find me Temple.
Jenny, listen. Not now, maybe not in a week or a month, but in a year, this will be something to laugh about.
You knew it all the time. You knew they were making me look like a fool.
You mustn't take this so to heart. What you did was all right. The play is no longer serious. The people came here tonight prepared to laugh. I tried to stop it, but you were so enthusiastic. Perhaps I should have tried harder.
If you cared, as Tippy said you did.
But
You never would have let them do this to me. You don't care a thing about me.
Jenny, believe me, I do. If you didn't mean anything to me, do you think I'd be with you now? If you were just another ingenue, do you think that I'd bother my head about you? Please believe that.
I'm through believing people. You only sent me down here so Mr. Fisher could trick me into doing this. You're here now because you're sorry for me. Because the audience is laughing at me.
No, Jenny.
You don't have to be sorry for me. You don't have to think of me at all. I'm going home. Oh, Grandfather.
Jenny.
Oh, you were right. I never should have gone near the theater. I never should have come to New York. Whatever possessed me to hide in his car?
You hid in his car? Now, Jenny, everything is going to be all right.
Lillian, I'm in a tough spot. You've got to do this for me. And besides, you'll make so much money it'll make your head swim.
Where have I heard that before? Now you listen to me, Archie Fisher. You fired me once and we're through.
Oh, come on, Lillian. You're a great actress.
You can't bluff me, Archie.
Lillian, if you'll do this for me tonight, I promise that you can pick out any part that you want for the rest of the season.
No, Archie.
Oh, please do it for me, Lillian.
No, Archie.
For the sake of the play.
No, Archie.
For the sake of art.
No.
I'll let you name your own salary.
Well, that's different.
Of course, he may be all you say. I won't say that you're wrong. But after talking to his father, I can't quite feel that he's very bad.
How stupid of me. Thinking he liked me. Worrying about Alice Murgatroyd.
He comes of very good stock, Jenny. His father boasts a little, but... Why, he told me that his grandfather made the ink with which was written the... No, I told that one myself.
And to think of all the things I wrote in my diary. Oh, Grandfather, if only you hadn't locked me out.
I didn't lock you out, my dear. I tried, but...
Michael.
Now he's locked out. You'll feel better in a few weeks, Jenny.
Not about Philip Green. I hate him. I never want to see him again.
You don't have to see him again, my dear, if you don't want to. It's funny. Prejudice, intolerance, stubbornness. You know, you have a relative who missed most of life's happiness because he clung to those qualities. Right now, you remind me of him.
Who?
Your grandfather.
You?
I've been at fault for not letting you...
Oh, it wasn't your fault at all, Grandfather. It was mine.
All right, dear, have it your own way. But I was thinking that before long we'd run up to Boston and get some clothes, look in the shops and things.
I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to be with you.
If you'll just take the bumps a little more gently.
What are you doing here?
I was just riding to Ashford. There's a lot of work I want to do up there, and I thought...
Well, as long as you're coming along, you might as well sit up in front.